Hi, welcome back to art class with Miss Teresa. So today we're going to be drawing kind of an expansion of what we did last week with the pancakes. We're going to be doing cupcakes and we're going to be doing multi-layer cakes. So go ahead and get whatever art supplies you guys are going to need and we're going to get started. So depending on how you want to look down at your cake, or if your cake is in front of you, is how it's going to be drawn, either with a circle or an oval. So we're going to start with the circle. Just like we're looking down at a cake. Okay, so I'm going to use my pencil. And then, so if I'm going to be decorating, my decorations are going to go around the border. Or you could make flowers or all sorts of stuff on the inside. And if you're going to be cutting a piece of cake, it's kind of a line halfway up the radius of the circle. And then we're going to have this part be a chunk of the cake that's missing. So you can continue to use your color pencils. I'm going to switch over to black ink just so that you can see it better. And then I'm going to trace my lines. And you can use any kind of circle that you have. I do recommend that you use a pencil to trace a bowl or a cup, just so that you don't get ink all over it. Okay. All right, so we have a bit of a Pac-Man going. Okay, so this part isn't a part of the cake, but it's going to be the bottom piece that the cake is sitting on. Okay, so I think I want to make a bunch of flowers on it. So I'm going to start with the middle, which is also a circle. Kind of make daisies for decorations, but you can put any kind of pattern you want. You can do squiggle lines. You can color it multicolors. Completely up to you. When I go to the grocery store, I see a lot of flowers on top of cake, so that's what I'm choosing to do. So I'm going to make some leaves. And just like when we did the pictures of the rhododendron, we're going to make lots and lots of flowers. And sometimes on the edge of cakes, you'll see like a squiggly pattern. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna kind of make half circles going all the way around. Cupcakes are a type of cake, and there's kind of a charming story behind that. So people would have tea time, which is an in-between meal time, and they would serve savory and sweet things. And cupcakes were actually baked inside teacups, and that's how they got their name. So at first they didn't have frosting. They were just little mound cakes that were served to you either in a teacup or baked from a teacup. So there's a culinary factoid. Okay, so I'm not going to put the edges here because this is the area that's going to be kind of the plate that the cake is sitting on.
So it has a big chunk.
It has a big chunk missing, and we're going to draw that big chunk in a few minutes.
All right.
Yeah. And Miss Teresa likes, I think I have pretty good handwriting, but I'm not very good at decorating cakes when it comes to lettering because it's a different kind of squeezing than it is holding a pen. So it's one of those things that you have to have practice. But my oldest daughter, she used to work at a local bakery, and she's quite good at the decorating part. So she graduated from the Tacoma School of the Arts, which is one of our high schools that specializes in art. And then she got her degree from the University of Washington, Tacoma, also in art. And one of the jobs she had out of college was working at this bakery that does things like birthday cakes and special occasion stuff and cupcakes, and she absolutely loved it. So that's another way that you can make a living doing art is edible art. Okay, so I am going to make just some cool patterns all over here, or maybe some dots. Or if you want to write words, can you think of any kind of special occasions that you would have cake? I firmly believe that you don't need a special occasion to have cake, but you know, it's always nice to celebrate.
Teacher Appreciation.
Teacher Appreciation Week is a good reason to have cake. Okay, so here's our cake, and I am going to draw kind of that missing piece is over here. Now this would be a really, really big piece of cake for one person, so I'm going to split it. And then we're going to continue the pattern on the outside. And there's all sorts of kinds of cakes. You can have really, really fluffy light cakes like angel food cake, or if you fold meringue, which is eggs that have been fluffed before you put it inside the batter, it changes the density of the cake. Or if you put a water bath, and that sounds really weird, you're not soaking the cake inside water, but when you bake it, you have a layer of water in the pan, and then you can put cakes in what's called a ramekin, and you put it in there and it kind of steams and bakes it at the same time. But if you open the oven too quickly, when it hasn't had time to set, it'll flatten out, and that's called a souffle. But there's all sorts of delicious things to eat.
So souffles and cakes are cousins.
They are. They are. Sort of like cupcakes are not really cakes, but they're kind of cakes.
Now, another thing I noticed here, Miss Teresa, is that there's some mathematics involved in this drawing.
Definitely. So my pieces of cake, I think we could probably get 8 pieces out of this cake. So we're going to use this pencil here. And so this is one whole. And if we cut it in half, it'd be 1/2. And if we cut it in fourths, it would be 1/4. And then if we cut it evenly, that would give us 8 pieces. So 8 pieces to a whole. Now, I like to eat, if I'm going to eat 1 piece of cake, I'm probably going to eat 2. So if I took away 2 pieces out of 8 pieces, I took 1/4 of them away. Now, if your answer was you took 2/8, when you reduce it down, you're actually going to be reducing it to 4. So we got 1, 2, 3, and 4.
That's right. 2/8 equals 1/4.
Yep.
Oh.
Okay. So there's our pretty cake. And I'm going to draw kind of a half rainbow just to show that there's a plate underneath here. And if I want to make a little bit of dots for crumbs, because I've never seen a piece of cake come out perfectly. So here's our cake that we're looking down. Did you know that cupcakes are called fairy cakes in England? I think that's kind of cute. But my favorite type of cake is cheesecake. And a cheesecake is super dense. It is not fluffy at all unless it's a Japanese jiggly cheesecake, which is made differently than a regular cheesecake. But I like putting strawberries on top of it. And during Victorian times, you would gift fruit cakes, which is why we also do that around the end of the year holidays. And fruit cake had liquid preserves in it, so that it would last a long time, but it would have like nuts and fruit, and the density of the cake, which means the thickness of the cake was a lot heavier than a traditional lightweight cake. Yeah. Okay, so if I was looking straight down at my cake, this is what it would look like. And now we're going to do a multi-level one. It'll be fun. So just like we did for last week where we did pancakes, I'm going to make an oval. So you might be asking, why does it look like a circle here and an oval here when it's the exact same thing? And it's actually about perspective. So if I was to look at this straight on, or would it be up here? Yeah. So if I was looking at this, it would look like a circle. But if I started to tilt it, it changes the shape of it. And so you're seeing it differently, but the shape isn't changing. It's just the way that you see it is different. See, oval, circle, oval, circle. Okay, so we're going to make, I'm going to make a 3-level cake. You can make how many levels you'd like to, and just like we did with our silly stack of pancakes, you could make it a ridiculous amount of layers. It's completely up to you. And I've seen a cake that was designed to have the bottom be the little piece, and then it went up in size at the top. And so it was like an upside down cake, but it was designed for a special event. And they have to put all sorts of stuff and pieces inside that cake for that to happen. So what we're going to do is smallest and lightest on the top. And then we're going to go medium in the middle and biggest at the bottom. And again, you can keep on going as long as you want to. I have a lot of paper, so I'm going to kind of keep on going. I think it'd be fun. Okay, so my cake has 5 levels. And I saw this really cool thing at a cake show once where they took all of this and cut it out. And then in here, they had pieces of rock candy. So it kind of looked like a geological creation. It was really cool. I mean, everything was edible, but it looked like crystals and stuff. And I thought that that was kind of neat. There's all sorts of things that you can put on top of a cake. Sometimes you can melt gummy bears or Jolly Ranchers, and you can make glass windows out of that. So next time you're making a gingerbread house, melt some Jolly Ranchers so that it gives it a little bit of gloss, like a stained glass window. I think it's kind of neat. Okay. So here's one idea you can do that just happened to pop in my head, so I wanted to go ahead and draw it. I'm going to draw that exact thing, the 5-level cake. So here's my small piece. And they're kind of shaped like marshmallows. I like going to cake shows. I think that they're pretty interesting what people can create for edible art. And no idea is too wild and crazy. I've seen mechanical pieces put into cakes so that they have like moving parts to it. And those parts you generally wouldn't eat. But if you're skilled enough, you could create bit by bit, just like you would like building with Legos, you can do with edible things. Okay. All right. Okay, so here's my 5-level cake. And whatever your favorite thing is, I encourage you to draw it all over the place on your cake. I think that it would be pretty neat, whether it's flowers or if you want to do animals. Like, I think I'm going to do like puppies. So I'm going to make random pieces. And here's a bone, because that's something that a puppy would play with. Or maybe a ball decoration right here. And one of the things that I love about drawing is that there's no limit. You can create whatever you want to. So let's see, maybe you want to put some letters. So I'm going to actually name my dog Dog. But I'm going to call him Dog, which I think is a cute name for a dog because you're spelling out his letters. And a lot of my friends have dogs and I like to visit them. So, what else can we put on for a dog? I think we can kind of go with the same theme. And here's a ball. Or maybe you want to do a cat, or a dragon, or rabbits, or you can also go back and we can draw frogs anywhere, because we did that a couple weeks back. Here's a tiny little frog.
Dogs like sticks.
They do like sticks. And one of the things that you can use to sculpt is either marzipan, which is made out of almond paste, or fondant. And fondant doesn't taste great to eat, but it's edible Play-Doh. So if you've ever played with Play-Doh, oh, you could even make a cake out of Play-Doh. You just shouldn't eat it. It's really neat, the patterns that you can chop out of it or design from it. And one of my kids really likes to do miniatures. And so they'll make itty bitty tiny things. And I just think that looks really neat. What's your favorite kind of cake, Mr. Kevin?
Chocolate with vanilla frosting.
That sounds really good.
Mm-hmm. I also like cheesecake. Quite a bit, actually.
Let's see. I'm going to write "We love puppies" on the base. And so this would be a good celebratory cake for maybe adopting an animal into your family. That would be cool. Or if you have a business and it's about taking care of animals or animal toys or maybe grooming, this would be a cool cake to have at your opening or your anniversary. We heart puppers. Dogs are interesting. They come in so many different shapes and sizes. I still think St. Bernards are one of my favorite because they're so big. Okay, so you can design anything else. What else should we put on here? Ooh, I have an idea. You can take chocolate cake and you can crumble it. And then after this has frosting all over it, you can stick those crumbles over the top so it actually looks like dirt. So I'm just going to make a bunch of dots. So our cake is going to have different kinds of layers. And you can put whatever you like for your cake design. I'm just going with pets. Okay, so I have textures going on here. So the difference between cream cheese and fondant is cream cheese is a soft texture that you can have either in your cake or on your cake. And fondant is a smoother, Play-Doh-like, harder texture. It looks very clean, but it is not tasty at all. So I kind of recommend if you're gonna do any kind of frosting, you should probably do buttercream because it's delicious. But if you want it to look like a sculpture, then fondant. Okay, so here's an example. And then if you wanted to cupcakes, you have two basic designs. You have half circle and then a container. Can you see that okay? Okay. And, or you could go a little more elaborate. So I'm going to put a cherry on top with a stem. And then it kind of looks like cascading ripples. And so this shows that the cupcake has layers to it. And you can add sprinkles if you want to. And a lot of times you'll see the borders of the cupcakes. So same basic design for the cup. And lines. Then you have a cupcake. So I like funfetti. I think that it's a nice rainbow-like one. Mr. Kevin, I noticed that I'm seeing green behind me.
Yes.
So I'm also seeing a lot of green outside. We're about to go into the rainy season, which is awesome for plants. One of my favorite types of cupcakes are those itty bitty mini ones, because I can eat like 12 of them and then it counts as 2 cupcakes instead of eating a dozen. And they can be the size of a quarter, they can be slightly larger, but I think that they're kind of fun to eat. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and color my puppy cake. So I've decided that it has chocolate crumbles on top, or you could either go chocolate cake crumbles, or you can crumble up a bunch of cookies, like maybe graham crackers. And then my little frog up here, it's going to be green. When I was growing up, we often didn't have frosting on cakes, but it was because it was the type of cake that it was. And I like it both ways. But so when you put frosting on, you can either use a spoon or a flat knife to kind of spread it on, or you can do what's called piping. And so that's putting frosting into a cylinder, and then the bag that's the cylinder has an opening at the bottom, and at the tip of it has a certain design. And then when you squeeze it, it comes out and does this pattern, and then it's your job to kind of work it around the cake so that it has that design that you're trying to make. So sometimes you'll see really pretty ones in display cases, either at the grocery store or a specialty shop. And we actually have a bakery that's right down the street here that makes both frosted cupcakes and muffins. And the difference between muffins and cupcakes are one has frosting and one doesn't. So, have you ever been to that bakery down the street, Mr. Kevin?
I have not.
Oh, I highly recommend it. I like exploring what people eat. And so you get to find all sorts of really cool flavors that you might not have tried before. So instead of just a vanilla or chocolate cupcake, you might have like lemon or cardamom or cinnamon. And you can even chop up fresh apples and pears and make kind of almost like a mini pie, but in a cake form. I think it's pretty neat. So one of the jobs that I had before coming here to work was I was a chef for 10 years. And so I would do special events, and sometimes they would order cakes or cupcakes or desserts, and I would make 100 or 150 exact copies of either a cupcake or a mini dessert. And that's really hard to do, to make each of your pictures look exactly the same. But if you have enough practice at it, you get really good. Maybe one of these days I'll bring in some cupcakes and then we can show you how to decorate them. And if you ever need more time drawing, these videos are also available on YouTube at the TV classroom. You can always pause the video to either catch up or to watch it again. I highly recommend that. Okay, so I'm going to make the bottom one have green grass because why not? So this one kind of has natural colors going, which means colors that you would see in nature. So I'm going to finish up my coloring. Mr. Kevin, do you have any questions about cakes or how to decorate them?
I never met a cake I didn't like. No questions really. Just I do have a sweet tooth. I've changed my diet, and I haven't had a cake or a slice of cake in many months.
Oh. Do you think cake should be an everyday food or maybe a sometimes treat?
Well, in my future, it's going to have to be just a sometimes treat.
I think that it makes it special when it's a sometimes treat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So at the bottom here, I'm going to make it grassy, which means that this is going to have kind of little tiny V's going up and down. I like desserts, I just don't eat them every day. Kind of space them out to make them kind of special. Okay, so I'm going to make my dog, my DOG, red, just to give it some pop. And then I'm thinking that I might leave the rest of the side layers white, but you can color it whatever color you'd like. They also have this really cool printer machine that takes food dye and takes a picture and prints it out on your cake. And I think that's kind of neat when you're celebrating somebody. I don't think I've ever had my face on a dessert before, but you know, it could happen. All right, so I'm pretty much to a closing point. But what I am going to do is, because the sunlight is coming in on one direction, I am going to make one side of my cake slightly darker than the rest of it. And that gives a little bit of depth. But I'm only going to do that to one side.
That's amazing how just a little action like that can make it look 3D. It's very cool.
Thank you. I think today, since I've been eating a lot of salad, I might treat myself to a cupcake. But just one.
Good.
One of the things that I like about cakes in general is that you can use different kinds of flour. So you can use regular wheat flour, you can use rice flour. There's a lot of desserts in Asia that use a sweet, sticky rice, and it's called glutinous rice. There's no actual gluten in it. It's that word means sugar, so that they're kind of on the sweet side. And their fillings might be different than what you see here. So instead of like chocolate, vanilla, or fruit, you might have red bean paste or chestnut paste, or and they're generally served for celebrations. They're still some of my favorite desserts. Like, you wouldn't generally think that beans would be something that you'd put inside of a dessert, but a lot of people do.
Well, Miss Teresa, the TV teachers and I think that your drawing today takes the cake.
Oh, that was glorious, Mr. Kevin. I would love, love, love to see what you're creating out there. If you can send or take a picture of your art to the following addresses.
And I'll put that in at the end.
All right.
Yeah.
So I think that, my cake is doing that space floating thing again. So what I need to do is to put it on something. I am going to put it on a table, which means that I need to have a line go behind it. And that line needs to go through my drawing to the other side. So that shows that it's sitting on something instead of floating in space. And I think we're pretty much done. So here's the drawing for the day. And this was my creation. And if I was a decorator at a bakery and I was sitting down with a client and they wanted to tell me their ideas, this is one of the things that I would be doing. Instead of coming up with the cake first, we would come up with a concept, and it's kind of like pre-planning your sculpture. And they would give the okay, or I want you to add more bones and some more trees and maybe something else here. So it's nice to get your plan down before you go on with a big project. And that's pretty much it for today. I really had a great time. Thank you for spending this time with me. See you next time. But you can have dessert now.
Astronaut cadets. This is your commanding officer reporting to you from Space Command. Today, we will be traveling to and exploring the moon. We call this mission Space Jump. Here's how it works. Number 1, complete each of the 4 levels by reaching the star coin. 2, when you see me run, you run. 3, When you encounter an object coming towards you, you will need to either dodge, duck, dip, dive, or dodge in order to safely complete each level. And number 4, have fun. Good luck, cadets! Let's run. Run!